Hey guys, this is Matt and you're watching TV Punch for Monday, November 2nd, and today I'm going to be talking about Supergirl, Season 1, Episode 2, titled Stronger Together. I'm going to run through some quick hits, just some cool things that I thought were worth mentioning, and then run through the major plot points of the episode. So with that said, be careful for spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode yet, pause this, go watch it, come back, you'll be glad you did. But running through quick hits first off, we get a lot of name drops this episode. So they actually mentioned Superman several times, which was kind of one of the things that I thought was weird last week. They kept mentioning him or my cousin or things like that. So they mentioned Superman a lot. We hear Clark Kent once or twice. We hear Lois Lane, Perry White, Daily Planet. We hear all of those things, but there's still way too many of my cousin and my aunt and my niece and my sister, and we get it. We know who's related to whom, and we understand how all the characters interact with each other. We don't need the relationship spelled out for us every time. Enough. We get it. Please. Purd! There's a great scene where Kat is talking to James, and she refers to him as Superman's pal. I just thought that was a great nod to the classic Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen comics. Love that kind of stuff. Can't wait to see more of it. So one of the major plot points for this episode, the big theme of this episode, and probably is going to be the big thing throughout this season, is going to be the fact that Supergirl is still learning how to be Supergirl. She's been Supergirl for a week, and she doesn't really know what she's doing yet. She tries to go save an oil tanker from exploding. She tries to put out the fire with her freeze breath, and you actually hear one of the workers say, "You're making it worse. You're making it worse." Superman would have put this out by now. She pulls the tanker out of the way, but not before cracking, tearing up the front, and oil spilling out everywhere. She just doesn't really know what she's doing yet. She's training at the beginning of the episode with a DEO. They're helping her sort of get used to her powers, flying and super speed and all that kind of stuff. They're shooting missiles at her. So the big theme with this is that she's in training. She is not a professional superhero. She is making mistakes. She gets her butt kicked a bunch of times. We'll talk about that in a minute. Even her sister takes her into a kryptonite room that sort of basically doesn't hurt her, but it essentially negates her powers, and they do a little hand-to-hand combat training, and she gets her tail whipped there too. So she's learning. This episode is all about Supergirl learning how to be a superhero. There's a great scene where she's talking to Kat Grant, and Kat inadvertently gives her a little bit of advice for how to be Supergirl. She says she's talking to Kara, and she doesn't know she's talking to Supergirl, but she basically says if Supergirl were here, I would tell her to start small. She's basically biting off more than she can chew. She needs to start small with, basically ease into being a superhero, and that makes perfect sense. She takes that advice, and she gets James and Wynn to help her learn how to be a superhero, help her sort of take on smaller crimes, and saving snakes from trees in a weird scene, and helping ambulances get to the hospital when they're stuck in traffic, and things like that. That was also a great sequence because just before that, James and Wynn finally learn that each other knows Kara's secret. And then a little bit later, Alex learns that James and Wynn know Kara's secret too. So everybody knows that everybody else knows what's going on now. And don't forget, you've got about 100 workers of the DEO who also know. So again, her secret identity is the worst kept secret in the DC television universe right now. But it's still fun, so everybody knows everything, and I'm glad they kind of got that out of the way, because that could have made for some really annoying TV if James knew she was Supergirl and Wynn knew she was Supergirl, but they didn't know that each other knew, and then they had to sort of pussyfoot around it. That would have gotten really old really fast. So let's just get it all. Let's lay all our cards on the table. Let's get it all out in the open. Everybody knows everything, and let's move on. So the villain of the week is just a random Hellgramite, which is basically just an alien. I think Kara describes it as sort of like an insect who can morph into any shape. So she's facing a humanoid Hellgramite that was he was locked in the prison in the Phantom Zone with all the other escaped alien convicts, and he's working for Kara's Aunt Astra, just like really all the rest of the convicts are. She doesn't really have any interactions with the Hellgramite. That whole bit was really just a way for Astra and Kara to interact with each other, to meet up for the first time, and then have a big fight. The fight, it was okay. It was cool that there was sort of a mid-air battle scene. I appreciate the effort that the showrunners gave us in giving us that type of fight, but that one sequence looked really hokey. It looked they were just like sort of dangling on wires, and they would hit each other, and the other one would kind of swing back, and I didn't really enjoy that sequence. Now, I do want to point out that the effects in this episode are still really good. I'm still really impressed with this show and the CGI, the special effects. The flying scenes are great. The heat vision is really good. I like the effects. They're much better than I thought they would be for a network TV show. But this one fight between Supergirl and Astra, I just didn't love it that much. But so at this point, Kara now knows that Astra is essentially the big bad. She knows she has to take her down, and she also knows that she's not ready to do that. So all of that was a setup for Supergirl to say, I'm not ready. Alex, James, Wynn, DEO, whoever, I need all of you guys to help me get ready to take her down. So she is going to learn how to fight. And again, this episode was all about her learning, and she's embracing that now. She is open to the fact that she is not a great superhero yet with the beginning of this episode, and then last episode too. She was all confident, I can do this, I can take him down, and now she knows, she kind of knows her limits, even though you would think that Supergirl doesn't really have any, but she knows her limits now. She knows she needs to get better, and it's full steam ahead on doing that. So near the end of the episode, Alex shows Kara that they have a special, I guess you'd call it a special room for her at DEO headquarters. And it's essentially, think Russell Crowe's Jor-El in Man of Steel, how he was able to upload his consciousness into that ship, and then he was able to still interact with Clark, with Superman, help him out, tell him things, fill him in on Krypton. Kara has that same type of thing, but it's in a room, and the holographic image is of her mother, Allura. We didn't get a whole lot of that yet, but I think that's going to be the way she learns about Krypton, the way she learns about the villains that she has to fight, and the way that we, the audience, are introduced to all of that as well. So I'm eager to see more of that. I think that's going to be a great way to get us into some backstory. That's going to be a great way to introduce some new characters in the future, I think. So a lot of potential for that. And then we're left with two big WTF moments at the end, and I'm actually going to flip these because I want to talk about the first one that happened last. But at the tail end of the episode, we see Astra talking to somebody in shadows, but we don't know who it is. And she's saying that she ran into Kara, that she's a lot stronger than she thought, she's going to have to be dealt with. So who is she talking to? We don't know. I'd be willing to say that it's going to be somebody from the comics, but I can't really guess right now. I'll wait a couple more episodes before I start to harbor an opinion on that. But then the second to last thing that happened in the episode that was a big WTF that I want to talk about last in this because I have a theory on it is we see Alex and Hank talk to each other. He says something and turns towards the camera, starts walking away, and his eyes glow red for just a minute, and then they go back to normal. So Hank Henshaw is not who or what he seems. Who or what is he? We don't know yet, but I have a theory. I'm going to go on record right now. My official theory is that he is going to turn out to be Martian Manhunter John Jones from the comics. If not Martian Manhunter specifically, then I think he's going to be a Martian, just like Martian Manhunter is. I don't know if DC is going to let them really use John Jones, although they seem reluctant to use him in a movie, so it seems like the perfect place to allow him to be in the TV shows. But I don't think, in sort of the background music and the way they did it kind of made it look sinister. I think that's a setup. I think that's to throw us off track. I think he's going to end up being Martian Manhunter, or at least another Martian, and I don't think we're going to get any kind of reveal on that until probably at the very end of the season. But it's going to be really fun to get little clues. It's just like with Harrison Wells on The Flash last season. He seems like a really good dude, but then he does something that's kind of shady, and you're like, maybe this guy's not so cool. But then he does a whole bunch of other good stuff. Oh, maybe he is a good guy. Oh, but then he's doing something shady again. So it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to do that same thing with Hank Henshaw. He seems like a great guy. He's really starting to trust Kara, wants to help train her. but then he's got glowy eyes and he can do other things, so maybe he's not good. I don't know, but that my official theory is he's going to be a Martian, maybe the Martian Manhunter, and it's plausible because a Martian Manhunter can totally shapeshift into whatever form he wants. They did that in Smallville. That's how they introduced Martian Manhunter into that. You didn't even see him in his Martian Manhunter guise, if you will. He was always in the shape of a human. So that's my theory. I can't wait to see if I'm right or not, but it's going to be really, really fun to see those clues come out. So that's it, guys. Those were the high points of the episode, just some of the things that I think we're going to see more of throughout the season. So if I've forgotten anything or left anything out, please be sure to leave a comment below. And if you want to keep checking out all the other videos I post on any other future episodes of Supergirl or anything else, please be sure to subscribe by clicking the button below. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can check it out on youtube.com/nerdpunch. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, both of those at nerdpunch. And we also have nerdpunch.com where we post other cool stuff online. And you can check out our schedule of upcoming videos as well. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.